Welcome back, you guys, to another episode of Pro Tips. Today we are breaking down the snap. We're going to go through a down the line speed transition snap, a regular snap, and a closeout section end turn snap. Today's episode is quite in depth, but I personally believe in creating good habits from the get-go. So we're going to break it down step by step and make sure that you have the best technique possible moving forward, which will ensure really good style and ultimately creating the best snap that you can do. I'm also going to bring in my husband, Tom, who is arguably a much better surfer than I am, a doctor of osteopathy, and works a lot with sporting people and surfers in general. So I think he'll have an interesting take on this for you guys that will give you more information. All right, you guys, first one we're going to start with is the speed snap, which is just kind of a transitional maneuver to get you to your big maneuver down the line like so. It starts with the bottom turn. On a speed snap, you're going to actually do a shallower bottom turn. So you can see here I'm starting a little bit higher up on the wave than the second line would be further down. I'm going to throw my back arm back, allowing myself to twist and look up towards the lip to where I want to go. And then that is going to project me up to the lip, and I'm actually going to have more of an angle of my board that's about 10 o'clock, maybe 11 o'clock, but we're not going vertical to 12 o'clock. We want to keep that down the line speed and the momentum moving forward down the line and not stopping and going straight up. That'll allow us to then open up the shoulder and keep going down the line.
Okay guys, so next we're focusing on one of Mick's down the line snaps. So as you can see here, same thing, he winds that back arm up. As he's coming up, he's always eyeing his section off, and as he starts to hit the lip, same as Lakey, he's projecting the nose of his board down the line. He doesn't want to go too vertical, as this is going to wipe off a lot of speed. With his arms, we call these beach ball arms. So his arms are overhead holding a beach ball, and they're really guiding the turn. So they're going to help his hips and everything follow where he's moving down the line. As you can see there, his eyes are focusing already on where he wants to be down the line. And as you can see, he's pushing off that back leg to project down the line.
All right, guys, let's look at a few more examples here. So again, we're starting with the bottom turn. We want to really engage that inside rail of the surfboard. You don't want to be too far back on your fins. If you haven't seen our bottom turn video, go check that one out. It's really good. We always want to be looking at where we're going. So I'm going to eye up the lip as usual, and I'm going to throw my back arm back as I get ready to twist and come up into my snap. So this is kind of loading me up as I come up to the lip here. And you can see my front leg and my back leg are just slightly bent. I'm coming out and unweighting myself from the bottom turn, getting ready to come into the snap. Still looking to where I want to go. Now you can see again, my board angle is around that 10:30, 11 o'clock angle. It's not straight up. My front leg is straight. And now as we come around, you can see I fully bring in my front knee. I bring it up and in like I'm going into almost a cannonball position just with that front knee, and I push through the back. My beach ball arms aren't great, but I'm kind of counteracting as I twist my hips. I twist my upper body the opposite way so I can stay balanced. This is actually something that I'm trying to improve on myself. So that's my version of this down the line snap. And we're going to look at one more example now of Ethan Ewing. Ethan, again, he's coiling up. He's throwing, like all of us, that back arm backwards. And his version right here is a little bit more of a regular snap. You can see his board is kind of more vertical, and his front leg is really straight, and he's eyeing where he wants to go through his snap. This part of the turn, he brings in his knee. Look how quickly his knee comes up towards his chest, and his back leg is kicking out, almost like a karate kick, which is going to allow him to kind of blow that tail out while staying centered and over the top of his board and keeping speed as he finishes the snap and goes into his next turn or transition. You can see with Ethan, his arms are pretty dang perfect. He's straight directly over his hips. His upper body is in line with his hips as he pivots. To be honest, it's pretty darn perfect. All right, the regular snap. This is a bit more vertical, and the main emphasis is blowing that tail out the back. So let's get into it. As always, we start with eyeing the section and where you want to go. That bottom turn, you want to engage again, that inside rail, and not go too far to the very bottom of the wave. Try and keep that bottom turn a little bit shallower. We're gonna throw that back arm backwards to rotate us and torque us up to the lip. Now you can see in this example, my board is a lot more vertical than the past and previous examples. I'm not quite at 12 o'clock, but I'm certainly more vertical than a down the line snap. You can see my front knee starts to suck in as I push the back leg back and try and almost straighten out my back leg, but keep my front leg really coiled in. This is somewhere I actually can improve on a little bit. But all the power and how you're blowing the tail out is gonna come from that back hip and leg, pushing out the back once you get to the top of the lip and transition.
All right, guys, so next clip here is Lakers absolutely blasting the lip. So off the bottom turn here, we've got the trailing hand in the water. She's trying to drop all her weight over her knees onto that inside rail and always looking up towards the lip where she's going. Step number 2, coiling that arm. So starting to rotate that arm backwards so she can explode it up through the lip. Step number 3, unweighting through the knees here. So as she's coming up, her legs are actually straightening as she approaches the lip. As you can see here, she's pretty vertical. I would say she could go a little bit more vertical, but she's pretty good there. You can see that front foot is quite straight, but as it starts to pierce the lip, we rotate the board, you can see here that knee goes into extreme amounts of flexion. So we're bending that knee to almost rotate the board around so we can then push off the tail. So this is the part of the turn we're calling the karate kick, because we want to push that back leg nice and straight, which is going to help blow that tail out and send all the spray off. As you can see here, her upper body is counter rotating the lower body to keep balance, and she's already looking on where she's going next through the turn. Okay, so this next example is ETH Doggy blowing the tail. So as you can see, just like Lakers before, he's winding and coiling that back arm. The next stage he goes through here is starting to unweight through the knees. So his knees are still slightly flexed, but he's straightened his legs a little bit. You can see here the projection of the board. It's not 12 o'clock here, but he's projecting it above the lip. His front leg straightens out. He's holding that beach ball with the arms, which is helping to guide where his turn's going. Now this is where ETH Doggy is in an own league of himself. As he comes through the turn, he's cranking that front knee into flexion, which is going to allow him to get all that power and push out through his back leg. And as you can see here, when he is pushing, if you look really closely, he's actually internally rotating through that back leg, which creates a little bit more power, a little bit more spray, and gives it that amazing look.
All right, you guys, for the third one, it's the closeout snap, focusing on high impact sections. This one's a lot of fun and you can get big scores with it. We wanna eye up where we're going as always, and then we're gonna throw that back arm back as always. The beautiful thing with this turn is you can really push into the turn because you have an oncoming section and it's gonna push back at you. Now, as you can see, I'm gonna kick really hard with my back foot, coiling in my front foot, staying over my board, and nice and secure. I've got my front arm forward, my back arm going back. I'm nice and centered, but again, I can push into that lip, and because it's a section, it's pushing back at me and allowing me to ride out of it. All right, we're gonna look at Filipe. This turn is epic. He coils up as always, that back arm going back. He's looking at the section oncoming to him. You can see as he comes into this section, he's unweighting on his legs. He's kind of coming up into a little bit of a more upright position. His board is not vertical. He's kind of going more down the line because he has the oncoming section back at him, and you'll see the line he takes as he goes through this. He's also eyeing up already where he's gonna finish this turn. So he's actually using the lip of the wave to really almost like a lip line turn and push back at him. You can see, watch his front knee is gonna come way into flexion as he pushes with that back leg. Again, it's almost that karate kick. It's fully extended and he's pushing as hard as he can, and he can do that because it's an oncoming section pushing back at him. His timing is really perfect on this turn, and that's why he's able to push so hard and ultimately come out of it so clean. Both of his arms are going straight up to the sky, slightly different to Ethan and Mick's arms, but that's keeping him nice and centered over his board. It's a perfect snap. All right, we're gonna go through one more closeout turn here. So here I come up into my section, Everything's looking pretty vertical. That front leg is pretty straight as I come into this part of the wave, but you'll quickly see as I come through the turn, I'm gonna bend that knee into flexion as tight as I can. And as I bend that knee with the back leg, then is gonna kick straight. Again, we're gonna call that the karate kick. You can see it here, and I do a really good job in this one of really kicking that back leg back, which again is the reason I release the tail so much. That front leg is coiled up really tight and in, back leg is kicking out the back, and you can see with my upper body, I'm almost counteracting the twist, so I'm twisting the opposite way with the upper body and then bringing it around and over as I come through. A big thing with these end section turns, or if you just kick the tail in general on a snap, when you come down, you really want to make sure you bend those knees as much as possible and stay centered over your board.